In our last few lectures, we have been redefining the idea of advanced beings from other spheres or aliens as entities that belong to the spiritual hierarchies, what would classically be called the spiritual hierarchies or the angelic hierarchies. Today we are going to explore what exactly was said about these beings in classical esoteric literature. In 1909, Rudolf Steiner did an in-depth lecture series that describes the spiritual hierarchies and the development of human consciousness and the cosmos. This series was called The Spiritual Hierarchies and consists of 10 lectures that were presented from April 12th to April 18th. In Lecture 6 of this series, Rudolf Steiner describes the spiritual initiates that many would have also called angels that came from Venus to the Earth to assist humanity in their development in the very early days of our Earth. He said, "Man has been engaged on his evolution upon Earth since primeval times, and his relationship towards his whole evolution upon Earth is exactly similar to the relationship between the small child and the grown-up person. The latter teaches the small child. It is the same as regards to the hierarchies in the cosmos. Man, who is chained to the earth, only gradually struggles through to the knowledge he needs, to the cleverness which is necessary to him upon the earth. Higher beings must teach him. What must happen so that this object can be gained? In the beginning of Earth's existence, beings who were otherwise not bound to the earth had to come down from higher spheres, and that really happened. Beings who otherwise needed only to live in the surroundings of the earth had to come down so as to communicate to men what they already knew as the older, more perfect members of the hierarchies. They had to incarnate into human bodies, not for their own development, for they did not need it, just as a grown-up man does not need to study the ABCs for his own progress, but so as to teach it to these small children. Hence, we look back into the old Atlantean and old Lemurian times when beings descended from the surrounding realms of the earth to which they belonged and incarnated into human bodies and became the teachers of mankind. These are beings who belonged to the higher hierarchies, to Mercury and Venus. The sons of Venus and of Mercury descended from above and became the teachers of a young humanity, so that these men, wandering in the midst of that young humanity, really represented Maya or illusion. There have been such men, let us suppose, in order to explain it more precisely. Some normally developed man of the Lemurian times met such a man. Externally, he did not appear very different from others, but a spirit had entered into him whose realm extended as far as Mercury or Venus. Thus, the exterior of such a man represented in reality Maya. It was an illusion. He looked like other men, but he was something quite different. He was a son of Mercury or of Venus. In the early dawn of humanity, there were such apparitions. The sons of Mercury or Venus came down and wandered among men, so that now they received within them the character of the beings of Mercury and Venus. We have said that the beings of Venus are the spirits of personality. Such beings walked the earth as men, being outwardly limited to narrow human personalities, but who, with their mighty power, guided humanity. These were the great conditions of lordship in Lemurian times, when sons of Venus guided the whole of humanity. The sons of Mercury guided parts of humanity. They were as powerful as those whom we call the spirits of nation or of race. Maya, or illusion, does not only exist in the world, but also in regards to men. A man as he stands before us can have an external appearance which is a truth, which corresponds precisely to his soul, or else it may be Maya. He has in reality a task which corresponds to the task of the sons of Mercury or the sons of Venus. This is what is meant when it is said that fundamentally, the great guiding individualities of ancient times, as they walked the earth with their ordinary names, represented Maya. And that is what H.P. Blavatsky meant when she pointed out that the Buddhas represented Maya. You can find this very word in the Secret Doctrine. These things are derived in every aspect from the teachings of the holy mysteries. We have only to understand them. We are now obliged to ask, how does it happen that such a son of Venus descends to us? How does it happen that a bodhisattva can live upon the earth? The being of a bodhisattva, the being of a son of Mercury, forms an important chapter in the evolution of the earth, which has to do with its connection to the cosmos itself. Therefore, tomorrow we shall have to consider the nature of the sons of Mercury and of Venus, of the Bodhisattva or the Dhyani Buddhas. We will continue in exploring Rudolf Steiner's explanation of the angels from Venus and their effect on humanity in the earlier Lemurian and Atlantean times. But let's take a brief moment and summarize some of the key concepts in this lecture. One key concept in this lecture is that the angelic beings from Venus were, in fact, part of the spiritual hierarchy, and they were assisting humanity in earlier periods of our development. These were not some physical beings that appeared in nuts and bolts spaceships, as it's often portrayed in modern spirituality. They were beings that were deeply interwoven with the very basis of our world. He also reveals that these beings from Venus are from the realm of Venus, or what we would see as the orbit of Venus in relation to the Earth. The physical planet Venus stands as a marker of the realm in which the physical planet is only a gate to. He also reveals that the Venusian angels advanced humanity by merging with the form, by merging with them, by enmeshing with them, and then finally directly incarnating into humanity. The direct spiritual uniting with these higher essences, these higher beings, is not only how humanity evolves, but also how we stay directly linked and part of the spiritual hierarchies in the cosmos. Without this process, humanity would become isolated from their own development. Thus, it is important to understand these higher beings are not in spaceships hovering around the earth in some kind of federation. They are not separate from the earth. They are not separate from humanity in any way. They are part of humanity and incarnated directly into the human form. Venus itself is simply the higher body of the earth. This is how souls evolve in the solar system through direct incarnation into form. Steiner continues discussing the angelic beings from Venus and their connection with humanity in Lecture 7. He says, "And now something very remarkable happened upon the earth. Those men of Lemuria who had only physical, etheric, and astral bodies were helpless. They could not help themselves. They did not know what they had to do on the earth. From heavenly regions, the inhabitants of astronomical Venus first came down to the earth. To these helpless beings, because they had a certain relationship to the physical body, they were enabled to send their light through and ensoul the physical body of the first inhabitants of the earth. Thus we find some among the Lemurians who passed among the mass of humanity in quite a remarkable way. They had a different physical body to the others. A man so particularly graced had not an ordinary physical body, but a body ensouled by a spirit of Venus, a spirit of personality. Because that man of ancient Lemuria moved with a spirit of Venus within his physical body, he had a powerful influence on all his surroundings. Such Lemurians did not appear different from their companions externally, but because a spirit of personality was translated into their bodies, these selected individuals acted suggestively, in the highest sense of the word, upon their surroundings. Today, there is nothing to compare to the obedience, the reverence, and the awe that was felt for them. All the attempts at colonization which were undertaken to the people of the different regions of the earth were led by such beings into whom a spirit of personality had descended. No speech was needed, for there was no speech then. No signs were needed, but the fact alone that such a spirit of personality was there sufficed. And when it was held necessary that large masses of people should be led from one place to another, those masses simply followed without thinking about it. Thought did not exist, it only developed later. Thus the spirits of personality came down to the earth as spirits of Venus in ancient Lemurian times. And we can say that the distinctive features of these messengers from Venus, such as the human countenances of that time could wear, signified something quite new with regard to the whole universe. If we take their cosmic significance, it reaches as far as Venus, and their actions had a meaning, an influence on the whole concatenations of the solar system. They could lead the people from one place to another, for they knew the connections that can only be known by those who are acquainted with the surroundings of the earth, and not only with the earth itself. In this passage, it is revealed that the angels from Venus became the leaders of humanity in the Lemurian period. They had already achieved their human stage of development in an earlier period, and thus were able to impart what they had learned to humanity. These Venusian angels ensouled within the human form, and it wasn't outwardly known, although they did seem to exhibit special powers or abilities, especially the ability to lead and know where on earth certain movements needed to begin, or where certain lands needed to be settled or connected with. This is how a solar system evolves. Beings that have already achieved a certain level of mastery can choose to sacrifice something of themselves and gift it to the planet that is coming into its human stage of development. In this way, the gifts of one sphere are passed to another. This is why initiation is often portrayed as a father imparting wisdom to a son, or a master to an adept. It is because the natural order is that once an individual has achieved a high level of advancement, they have the option to gift that knowledge to another, and the gifting of a capacity to another is the ultimate initiatory rite for a soul of a certain order of initiation. As mentioned, initiation and the metamorphosis of the form is achieved through embodiment. The higher angels from another planetary sphere, in the Earth's case Venus, must first spiritually enmesh with the form and then finally incarnate directly into the form. Why this is important is that it allows us to grasp that all human beings in the solar system are interconnected. We may be separated by density and levels of advancement, but we are all interconnected and part of the angelic hierarchies, or the spiritual hierarchies. This means that the cosmos is not chaotic, it is not meaningless. It is actually best seen as a spiritual body that is full of spiritual initiation, or opportunities for spiritual initiation that are held or symbolized within the planets and stars. Next week, we will go even further into how the angels from Venus were portrayed in different spiritual traditions in our past. Thank you for joining me today, and if you enjoy my work, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I also accept donations and have a website where you can directly support my work, where I even go deeper into these topics and have forums, and it's really a great environment over there. So I'll see you next time.